friends, Tina here with Amaryllis Acres Homestead. It's been a little while. I haven't posted a video for a couple of months, and I have just been kind of taking a step back, a breather from the change of the season. Not just the weather, but the season in our life. We've had so much going on. School started. First day of fall is actually tomorrow, so I'm super excited. It's my favorite season of the year. But we have been super busy, and so I've just been kind of MIA for a little bit, trying to figure some things out. We've made some pretty big decisions, some pretty hard decisions over the last couple months, Joe and I. And we've actually decided to downsize our life. And I say our life because I think that this change kind of affects a lot of aspects, pretty much all the aspects of our life. And as far as like our goal and our drive for kind of living that homesteading lifestyle and having our little mini farm that we have out here. So we are actually selling our property and downsizing to a smaller property, something that's just a little bit more manageable for us while Joe is finishing out his last 3 years in the military. And once he retires, who knows, you know, we're gonna find our forever home somewhere and go from there. But for now, for me, doing the homesteading thing, taking care of all the animals and homeschooling Parker and also doing my real estate business, it's a bit overwhelming at times. So we're just kind of scaling back on things, but still trying to do things on a smaller scale with the gardening and, you know, our fresh chicken eggs and our beehives and things like that. So it's really exciting. There's some good changes coming up, and I think that it's going to be a lot more manageable for us for the next few years while he's still really busy with work, and allow me a little bit more flexibility in our schedule. So with that being said, I'm really excited because on this channel, I just want to share all aspects of, you know, our little homesteading journey, a little bit of homeschooling, and also just really show people that it doesn't matter where you live if you want to pursue this kind of a lifestyle. You can have, you know, 25 acres or you can have 1 acre. And a lot of people do that. They have these beautiful gardens and they have chickens for fresh eggs and lots of those homesteady type things on a very small piece of property. And even if you're sitting in that little apartment with a balcony, you can have a little herb garden. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with a small space. So here we actually have 18 acres out here on the farm, and the reality is like 14 to 15 of those acres are never touched. So we have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 acres cleared, and that's where our little farmhouse is and all of our animal barns and things like that, and our chicken coop. And, you know, we're paying property taxes on this huge chunk of land that we're not using. And where we live, our property taxes, in my opinion, is not cheap. So we've just had a lot of different aspects that kind of played into this decision to kind of scale back for right now. But I say that to say that I intend on continuing my channel and sharing with you guys the different things that we do with our homegrown meats and eggs and vegetables and fun things like that. So it doesn't matter where you are, if you got the homestead in your heart, you can make it happen, right? So today, I'm excited because Joe and I went out to the garden yesterday and we harvested a bunch of jalapenos. And I say a bunch, I know people have bigger gardens with tons, but in my opinion, it's a lot of jalapenos. So what I'm gonna do to preserve them, because I don't think that we would eat them fast enough just eating them fresh, I'm gonna can them up and pickle them. And this is just a super easy process. So I wanted to share with you guys really quick this morning how I can my jalapenos. So this is a cute little jar that I did before. And you know, you can do these in whatever size jar you want. A lot of people like to do them in pint-sized jars, but I do the half-pint jars because they're perfect for just that everyday meal. Joe goes through these like crazy. So he'll eat them on tacos, you can put them on salads, put them over meat that you're eating with dinner. They're just delicious. And it's a great way to preserve them. They'll last in your pantry for up to a year, sometimes longer if you can them properly. And I think they're just beautiful. So that's what we're gonna do today. Alrighty, let's get started. And I'm also going to put the recipe down in the description for you guys. It's very simple. I like to keep it simple, so you're really going to love this recipe. So I had probably about 20, I'd say 20 to 25 jalapenos, and I cut the ends off of them and I slice them in about a quarter inch pieces. Now you can take the seeds out if you want to make them more mild. If you like them to be a little bit hotter, then you would want to leave the seeds in. And Joe really likes the hot ones, so I don't take the seeds out of them. And you want to make sure, if you're like me, I'm a little bit of a wuss, and I always wear gloves when I cut up jalapenos. So I have made the mistake of not doing that. And if you rub your eyes after cutting up jalapenos, you are going to regret it. So about 20-25 jalapenos, and you guys, this is not exact, and you can really play with this recipe as far as how many jalapenos you do to how many jars you want and things like that. I do have, I like to use Pickle fresh granules. These are awesome. They're just little granules that you put in your jar before you pack your jar, and it helps to keep everything nice and crunchy. And then over here, what I have for my brine, the brine is also very simple. Oops, sorry about that. It's, let's see, 6 cups of water, and then 3 cups of regular white vinegar, and then you're gonna do a 1/2 cup of salt, pickling salt, canning salt. So that's gonna be your brine, nice and simple. Over here I have my hot water bath canner kind of warming up to get ready for the jars once I have them packed. This can just be, for those of you that aren't really used to canning, there's a difference between pressure canning and hot water bath canning. For these jalapenos, we can easily do hot water bath. There's no need to pressure can them. And that's just a pot of any kind that's big enough with a rack on the bottom, because you don't want your jars to touch the bottom of the pan when they're processing. So I'm heating that water up a little bit. And then back here, I've got my water heating up so that I can add my rings and my lids to sterilize them. I'm actually gonna turn that up and get those bad boys going. And the other part of prepping for your canning is to get your jars cleaned and sterilized. So what I like to do, and I'm gonna get that closed to keep it warm. What I like to do is just cook them at 225, sterilize them at 225 in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then just leave them in the oven under the oven light to keep them warm until you're ready to pack your jars. So that's about it, guys. Got all the canning stuff ready, so let's get to packing. Over here, I've added my vinegar and my salt to the water. Once it's at a rapid boil, we're ready to start packing our jars. And really, it doesn't have to be at a high boil, just a nice hot simmer is all you need. This is still warming over here. I like to keep this warming in the background while I'm doing everything else, because it gets frustrating when you get done packing everything and you're ready to process, and then you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to turn the water on, and then you have to wait for all this water to warm up before you can process your jalapenos. So I have this kind of slowly simmering in the background so that when I'm ready to get them in there, it's gonna boil fairly quickly. All of my lids and rings are sterilized, and I've just pulled my jars out of the oven. They're still nice and hot. So we are gonna start packing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is add some of these Pickle Fresh granules. Now this one, you guys can get this from Walmart, Amazon. You can really pick these up in all kinds of different places. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon for a quart jar, 1/8 of a teaspoon for a pint. Now the jars we're using today are 1/2 pints, so I literally just use a smidgen of these granules because these are teeny tiny little jars. I'm actually gonna turn this down a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of this to each jar. And like I said, it's just gonna help keep our jalapenos nice and crispy so they don't get mushy in there over time. And you can add all kinds of things to your jalapenos. You guys, you can Google it and check it out. There's lots of different recipes. You can add garlic. Some people like to add some oregano. I just like to keep it simple and let the flavor of the actual jalapeno take precedence. So I don't put anything in my jalapenos, and they're absolutely delicious. So we've got our granules in there, and now we're gonna start packing our jalapenos. And you want to make sure that you pack them in there really good, nice and tight. Because once they soften up, it's gonna create a lot more space in the jar. And if you get too much, it's okay, take some out, because you want to make sure that you leave at least that 1/2 inch head space once you fill it with your brine. You don't want to fill it all the way to the top. Okay. Okay, once you get all of your jars filled, you just want to work on getting the air bubbles out the best that you can. And if you don't have one of these little nifty things that came with my canning set, you could just use a butter knife. Just don't want to trap any air bubbles in there. And what I'm going to do on some of these, I'm going to grab a spoon and I'm just going to take out a little bit of the brine on a couple of them, because I've got a little bit too much in there. Okay. All right, once you get your jars filled up, you want to take a nice clean cloth and just gently clean the rim of your jar. If there's any salt or jalapeno seeds or anything on there, it's not going to seal properly. All right, so our jars are cleaned up. Now we're going to add our lids. Now we'll add our rings, and when you add your rings, they don't need to be super tight, just finger tight. Now we can take all of our jars and put them into our hot water bath. And when you do this, you just want to make sure that the water is at least 1 inch above the jar. Sometimes you might need to add a little bit more water, and sometimes you might need to take some out, because once you put the jars in there, obviously it raises the water level. Once you get them in there, just cover it up. Turn this up to medium-high heat. So once this starts to boil, that's when you're gonna start your processing time. So I process my 1/2 pints for 10 minutes. If you were doing pint jars, you wanna do 15. You know, everybody has different opinions about that, but for me, 10 minutes works really great for these, and that pickle crisp helps to keep the jalapenos nice and crispy. So you want them to process for the full amount of time. You want them to seal properly for long-term storage, and we'll come back just in a few minutes when this is all done, and I'll show you guys what they look like. All right guys, so our jalapenos are all done processing. We did 10 minutes, and then once it was done, I turned the burner off and I moved the pot off the burner and take the lid off, and I let them sit for 5 minutes before I remove the jars from the water. So let me show you guys what these look like. They look amazing. All right, so here they are. Look how cute. Oh, I just love jalapenos. So you want to let these sit on your counter for, you know, like 12 hours or maybe even overnight before you mess with them. Once they are completely cooled off, then you can remove the rings and give them a little rinse, give the jars a little rinse, and then just store them in a cool, dark place. Maybe somewhere in your pantry where they'll keep nice for up to a year. So you want to make sure that when they're nice and cool, just go by and check all of the centers of the jars, make sure that all of the buttons are down, and that means that they are sealed properly. So if any of them did not seal all the way, it's fine, just put them right into the refrigerator and eat them within a month or so, and you will be perfectly fine. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this super quick video on how to can jalapenos. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and that way I'll know if you like these kind of videos and I'll keep making them. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button. We would love for you to be a part of our Amaryllis Acres family, and also hit that bell, and that way it will notify you every time I post a new video. I will keep you guys posted here in the future with some more videos about all the changes going on and the new farmhouse and selling this property, and so many changes and things coming up here in the very near future. By Christmas, we should be in the new house and kind of be fully transferred over, so lots to come. But in the meantime, I am still harvesting in the garden and preserving and, you know, just trying to live this homestead journey. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you are all blessed. Talk to you soon.